Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we'll be talking to one of the nation's top performance coaches about the challenges facing CEOs today. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I can't imagine a more challenging time for CEOs from coast to coast. It seems like every day we're getting a new mandate or regulation or something that is causing CEOs to say, how do I navigate this? And often a CEO can't talk to their employees about this problem. So who do they talk to? They talk to a performance coach like the young lady who's joining me today, Dr. Jayne Gardner. She is the founder of Divine Intelligence Institute. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff. It's so good to be here. And I was thinking maybe, if this were 10 years ago, I don't know if I'd be here, because you're so accepting of the idea of spirituality and consciousness in business. I love it that we're there.
Absolutely, and I love the name of your company, Divine Intelligence Institute. Tell me the origins of the name.
Thank you. Well, it's probably been 20 years ago. I was investigating as I worked as a mental health professional about how do I bring about change in my client's life. And I started writing down, what it was that worked. And as I did, I came up with a process of how to develop the deepest part of you, the potential, the highest potential in you. And I named it divine, this type of intelligence, because now science is telling us that we have the same capabilities as unlimited consciousness. So because science is showing it, I decided to develop a company around developing your consciousness, both in business and in your personal life.
And that's so important. I have to imagine 20 years ago when you started your company, having a performance coach was not necessarily something people would brag about. But today, I can honestly tell you, because I hang around a lot of CEOs, it's a badge of honor. I mean, they just kind of say, okay, I was talking to Dr. Jayne the other day, and she said, and so, I mean, you have to feel good that this profession is being embraced by CEOs.
I think it's a clearing that all people need, but especially people that are making decisions that affect so many different people, that they really need to go within and figure out what is the best decision for me to make that matches my values as well as who I am.
Yes. You wrote a best-selling book a few years ago called Divine Intelligence. We're going to put it on the screen, a scientific process to awaken the creator within. What was the inspiration for the book?
Yes. The inspiration was actually wanting myself to develop the potential in me. And so I decided I need to figure out what it is that helps people improve and get to a higher level. And as I studied the people I worked with, I began to see, this is what everyone needs and wants.
And the expression authentic leadership is thrown around quite a bit. Most people don't know what it means. What does an authentic leader mean?
Well, of course, you can't. Research shows us that you can't really define an authentic leader with words because they wouldn't be authentic because they're so unique. But what brings out the authenticity in people, and that's one of my jobs, is to help the leaders of this country to be authentic to them, is to be yourself. And in order to be yourself, to be who you are, you have to know who you are. You have to know what you believe in. You have to know what your values are. And you have to know what your legacy, what it is that you want to leave. Simon Sinek calls it your why. Why are we here? And so that's what I help leaders figure out through the process I offer them.
And I find that especially during COVID, it's okay if the boss says to the employees, I don't know. I mean, this is all new. I mean, things are being thrown at CEOs every single day. When you're coaching your clients, are you working with them on here's how you have conversations within your company, and it's okay if the boss doesn't have the answer?
Yes. Right after COVID came along, I was working with a CEO that just absolutely, he called me because of that in the midst of a crisis and wondering, how do I handle this? And one of the things I shared with him was people want to see the realness of you. And you can share with them that you don't know and that you're scared. And that you want to make decisions about what's best for everybody, but you want everyone to know what you're going through. Now, there is a limit to how vulnerable you need to be, but transparency is always a building of a relationship, and is actually trust building.
I love that.
Finding out.
We found a great overview video. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
Hi, Dr. Jayne here. Welcome to my YouTube channel on spirituality in the business world. I'm so excited to present some of the research. We now know that when you, as a leader, walk in a room, the people that are in that room match your emotional set point, your mood. If you're in a good mood, all of your followers get that higher energy from you. And if you're in a bad mood, yes, they match that too. So you want to be learning how to raise your energy level, because the research is showing that leadership through high energy levels does change your bottom line. That's what this channel is going to be about, is teaching you as a leader how to get to know yourself so well that you can predict times when you fall into a lower mood and you can pull yourself up. Because yes, like all of us, we have days that we have less energy. But if you begin to notice what your triggers are, what your limiting beliefs are that are bringing you down, you will enter every leadership role you have, every team meeting, every board meeting, every time you see someone on the street, every time you relate to your family, you will have a higher energy level and begin to see that the money follows. I hope you subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you be a part of this interesting research and development that I'm learning. Yes, won't you join me? I'm Jayne Gardner, Dr. Jayne, I'm called. My website is divineintelligenceinstitute.com. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jayne Gardner and Divine Intelligence. Thank you.
Well, I have to compliment you because in addition to a divine intelligence, you have emotional intelligence, because I have to think about the challenges of coming into a company, and often the CEO has a fragile ego.
Yes,
and
could be.
And they like to think that they're never the problem. And but you start by working with the CEO first, and then you go to the C-suite.
That's right, because what I find is in companies, especially where the managers and even the C-suite are a little unsure about whether we want to be this touchy-feely, that soft entrance. But when the CEO says, I've done it and I'm proud, the fact that I'm getting more vulnerable with myself, more self-aware, more confident because of knowing myself better, that then the people under him are open to it, and there's not quite so much a resistance to change.
Do people usually call you after a crisis, or do they call you preemptively?
Yes. Most of the time, they are going through a really hard time. Pandemic has been an influx of my phone rings a lot. But it can be something like a personal problem. Maybe your child is not safe or operating in the way you want them to, or maybe your marriage is suffering. Maybe it's a health problem or a need to have a more balanced life. Those are the reasons that people call me.
We found some great testimonial videos, and I want to share this one. It's from Alina.
Hi, my name is Alina, and I would like to share with you a little bit of what the process did for me personally. So right before I found the process, I found myself going through this major transformation, and little did I know that my life was completely shifting into what I actually wanted for myself. It was going from that good old linear, going to a job, paying my bills, and doing all that fun stuff, into something that I really wanted for myself, just that I didn't quite think it was possible until I started doing the process. And the process actually helped me figure things out through the change. And the one thing that it taught me was that I am my own worst enemy most times. And not only did it show me that, it showed me how I can work with that and how I can bring out the best version of me possible to the surface so that I can take on pretty much anything that comes my way. It gave me that sense of unlimited possibilities for myself. And through all of that, I also figured out that that's not only accessible for me, that's accessible for everyone out there. So what I'm hoping is that 99.99999 people get to experience this and get to go through this, because it's life-changing. It changed my life completely, and it gave me that sense of being able to do pretty much anything I want in life, and I'm sure it can do the same for everyone out there.
I love that. And it speaks to your kindness. Being a performance coach, you actually have to have great empathy, and every CEO likes to think of their company as their baby, and everybody's baby is beautiful, right, Jayne? So when you find imperfections on their baby, you got to lovingly coach them into making those improvements, don't you?
I do, but in the process, we call it a blind spot, Jeff. Something that they couldn't see, and bringing it to their attention through we can do that from having other people share with them what's going on, or we can just help them develop that within themselves. Mm-hmm. Because once they figure it out, it's kind of like, they didn't know what they didn't know. Yes. And you've probably wondered yourself, how do people see me? But to allow someone to see something that they can improve, then they know they can be more confident and perform better, because they're acting and with a whole set of parts, not just separated out into my good part or my bad part.
And I have to believe that when you're coaching the C-suite, there are things that they can tell you and they feel comfortable telling you that they might not share with the boss. So you're able to discover some issues that could be right under the boss's nose.
It always falls out. When you give an executive, a person that's a leader, some psychological safety to know that they no longer have to be careful about their words. They can just say what they're feeling, and it usually is very emotional. They find that once they dump out that problem, that it goes away. Neuroscientists tell us that we can't avoid problems. We have to approach them. We have to approach negative emotions so that they'll disappear. But yet we've been taught otherwise. And most CEOs think, well, I can't possibly talk about something negative. But in coaching, you have that opportunity to be yourself and to bring out what you're afraid of, or what maybe someone has said critical of you. And we talk through it and come to a consensus of a higher emotional set point for you. A higher ability to have energetic communication with your people then.
And for someone who's never worked with a performance coach before, there might be some anxiety related to that. Tell us what the process is like when somebody contacts you for the first time. How do you go about onboarding them, or even deciding if this is a good fit for you?
I think it is important for when I'm hiring someone, or whether they're hiring me or I'm hiring them, it's the same thing. They have to know me. So we do a complimentary, and I just ask them what they want, because it's very important that coaching have metrics. I want someone, when they hire me, to say, this is what I want to accomplish. I want the value of my company to increase. I want the performance of my sales team to increase. And then we measure that. So if I see that someone isn't interested in really changing to that level of depth, I know that we're probably not going to work together. But most people are very eager to see a difference. They don't want to just sit around and talk about their feelings. They really are interested in finding out, how can I make a difference? And so we found that when we increase and help someone with their self-worth, when we increase it, their net worth goes up too.
Yes.
And that's what just gives me pleasure as a coach to know that it works that way.
That has to be so rewarding. And you and I have a mutual friend who has hired you, and he just swears by you. So I'm so thrilled that you came on and imparted some of this wisdom today. We're going to end with your website, which is divineintelligenceinstitute.com. Dr. Jayne Gardner, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff. It was enjoyable. Thank you for letting me share.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.